What is happening, everybody? Welcome to the Social Media Suck Show. I'm your host, Sebastian Rusk. As always, hey, welcome to the show. This week, my trusty co-host and guest, Mr. Mark Kaye, is in the house. Mark, what's happening?
Hey, Sebastian. Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being on. I think you and I have met through live streaming, so that's really right. The unique part of this whole live streaming world that is merely 6 months old.
I mean, it's really the only way I meet anyone now. I don't like to talk to people in person. If you're not on my screen or this screen, I'm not going to pay you any attention. So,
right, I agree with that. Yeah, I just somebody wrote me a letter the other day. I'm like, who are these people?
Well, yeah. Oh, the IRS? Come on.
Yeah, those are love letters. Those are always. So, fresh out of the Periscope Summit, I had some serious FOMO not being able to make it up to the Big Apple for that. Tell us about the Periscope Summit a little bit last week.
Periscope Summit last week was phenomenal. And I said, I've said this to everybody who's talked about it, and I've said this on my own streams. I host a lot of first-time events for whatever reason. Whenever there was a first event, they're always like, hey, come on out. And this was the best first event of its kind. Usually there's hiccups. Usually there's mess-ups. Usually something goes drastically wrong. This one was perfect from beginning to end. The crowd was phenomenal. They sold so many tickets. The speakers and the Periscopers from all over the world that showed up, Euro Maestro, Alex Pettit, Alex Kahn, Tasman Lucia Khan, no relation to Alex Kahn. Robert C. Stern was there. I know he's here too, so I like to throw his name out there.
What up, Robert?
All of those people that showed up they made it such a great event. The weather was perfect. The venues were amazing. And Ryan and Kathy, who put it on, just did a phenomenal job from beginning to end. Usually they say, oh, we're going to get better every year. It's going to be tough to top this one.
Yeah, I agree. And I was mind blown. The very fact that A, these platforms are like 6 months old, and right. B, they were able to put together an event and get the who's who of the Periscope world, the live streaming world, all in one place at one time. I mean, it really, hats off to Ryan and Kathy. You stole my job, so I didn't get a chance to be the MC. But, and it happens, Mark. Obviously, they went with the better looking individual.
I apologize profusely for that. I mean, there are, maybe if you get out to San Francisco, I assume they're going to do another one in New York. But here's the thing with the Periscope Summit. Looking back on it now, I really wish I'd paid attention to more of the keynotes because I feel like I would have gotten even more information, but I was too busy, like you said, on the side writing jokes for the next person coming up on stage. Right. Luckily, a lot of people, there's Catch.me, so I can go back and watch them all, which was fantastic. Sure.
Yeah, no, it hard. I do a lot of MC work as well, and I find that's the big. I walk away and I'm like, dang it, I didn't get anything from that other than a bunch of green room conversation, and are always trying to. Yeah, I think as you see as an MC too, you're at the forefront, right? So conversations are a little bit easier because people approach you and want to have conversations with you, and I'm always focused on engaging those conversations, especially now with social media being so crazy. But yeah, I know exactly how that is. I'm like, can I get a copy of the replays, please? That'd be great. So, you're a radio host. Is that your full-time gig?
Yes, that's my full-time gig. Here's my other microphone that's not USB. But I'm a radio host here in Jacksonville, Florida. I know you're in Miami, so you should drive up sometime. Sure. We'll go fishing or something that I don't know people in Florida do.
Yeah.
But I have a radio show. I do a TV work. We own a TV station, so I do a segment there every day. And then with social media, with video, it just was the natural jumping off point. You know how it is. I started really with Snapchat, and Snapchat's a lot like radio because it's only 10 seconds, and it disappears when it's gone, supposedly. And you've got to really. Allegedly, yeah. Although I have like 2 hard drives full of all my old Snapchat stories, so I don't know what they're talking about. But it's been a great way for me to build my brand and continue my show when I'm off the air, and been so much fun. And you know what? I've met so many great people, and you.
This is true. Well, it's great to meet you as well. So when did this all start to click? When did you go? Wait a second. We've got a traditional marketing platform here, radio, and now we've got all these really neat tools to be able to connect with. Now, I've talked with a lot of local personalities, especially down here in South Florida, not just in radio, but in television. In television, it's more like, hey, get over here. You need to get this Periscope thing done. You need to Periscope before that 5 o'clock drop this afternoon. Right. Go get them, right? With no formal training. They're making us do it. We have to do it. And then you have larger radio personalities down here. There's a show that's been on for 20 plus years. Paul Casanova and young Ron Brewer. And I met Paul a few years back, and it was great because I grew up listening to the show, and the guys are it's just good radio, right? And of course, they got picked up with iHeart over the past couple of years, and they've been on every South Florida station, the typical route that a successful show takes. And I said, and Paul's in his 50s probably, and he said, yeah, I'm getting this Twitter thing down and this whole Facebook thing down. But now, 3 years, fast forward 3 years, it's such an integral part of the show, especially being on a global platform like iHeartRadio. But now they're embracing it. So I'm sure you do it on a daily basis as well. It's, hey, for more information on that story, make sure you go to our Facebook page and check that out. And then, listener engagement, which can get a little crazy, I'm sure, and can also there could be an upside, with the local appearances and things of that nature, and being able to connect with people. And then, of course, at the end of the day, the goal is to sell spots and to sell sponsorships, for the station, for the show. So and the best way to be able to do that is have people connecting with the human aspect of it. So how is this all? How is it all really? How's it all changed for you? And how long have you been in the radio space, by the way?
Well, I've been in radio for like 2 decades. My morning show, which is more of an entertainment-based music kind of show that people, we do the silly crank calls and we interview celebrities and we give away cash and tickets and stuff. That one we use a lot of Facebook, we use a lot of Twitter. But recently, I have a talk show on Sundays, which is straight talk. It's 2 hours, and that's nationally syndicated. And I've really I've had more freedom to experiment in that aspect with the social media, and that's great for a couple of reasons. Number one, my Snapchat has been a huge source of content for me. And, usually people are saying, hey, how do we get our radio or TV and spread it out virally using these other sources? I flipped it around. I was like, I need content. I'm going to use my Snapchat and my Facebook and my Twitter and my Periscope to find content to put back on the air. When I started my talk show, it was a Sunday night at 7:00, and nobody listens to the radio Sunday night at 7:00. So I had no interaction for the first couple of weeks.
Well, there are some people, but I don't
maybe 5, but they weren't calling for whatever reason. So I got on Snapchat and I said, hey, here's what I'm talking about. Send me a snap. And I would get these cool little 10-second pieces of audio that I would then record into my computer and play out on the air. And then I was basically having conversations with my Snapchat audience on the radio, which then inspired people to call. So it was a great way for me to kind of reverse engineer a radio show using the social media. Now, Periscope has been even better. I mean, I plugged in my radio station to my phone. Just, you can get a little 1/4-inch plug, just plug it in the bottom. And what I would do is I would start broadcasting my radio show on Periscope. And all of a sudden I got callers from all over the country. And, my call screener's sitting there. And he's like, there's a call from Las Vegas. When did you add Las Vegas? I'm like, we're not in Las Vegas. And I answered the phone. The guy said, hey, I'm listening I'm watching on Periscope. I thought I'd call in. I wanted to add to the conversation. So, there's a lot of different ways that you can integrate the radio. It's all basically the same thing. Media is media. It's just your delivery service.
So when did you how did you build your following on
Snapchat? Was really kind of, I got on Snapchat because I found out people were making money with Snapchat. The first time I got Snapchat, I'm sure I did what a lot of people did. It was brand new. I downloaded it. I played around with it for 2 seconds and I said, well, this is stupid. I don't understand it. So I deleted it. And then about 6 or 7 months later, I read an article in Time magazine about these 3 dudes in New York who were running around doing Snapchat stories and making $100,000 a week. So I thought, well, this is a good time to download Snapchat again. And I downloaded Snapchat and I got back into it. And I reached out to some of these guys. And, I did on Snapchat what everyone does on Snapchat, because you can draw on your picture. So for whatever reason, I thought all of a sudden, I'm going to do these cool drawings that everyone's going to love. Totally forgot that I suck at art. And my first few Snapchat drawings were just horrible. Nobody really followed me. So I reverted. I said, what am I good at? I said, all right, well, I host a talk show. I'm just going to do that. And that's when I started Talkin' Snap, which was the first and only, I believe, still Snapchat talk show. I started interviewing all the famous Snapchatters. They started sharing my content with their audience, my name with their audience. And that collaboration is how I really exploded. So between all the Snapchat stars and the Vine stars, I interviewed, Curtis Lepore and Logan Paul and Amanda Cerny. I interviewed Kevin Jonas, who's huge on Snapchat now. He reached out to me. I got a couple of other musicians coming through the radio station. I did Snapchat collaborations with them. So by seeking out people that have a big audience, same thing with Blab, same thing with Periscope. I mean, if you can get into an Alex Pettit dual screen interview format, then you're going to get a lot of followers. You're going to grow a pretty big following. And then the goal is after that, just to keep giving them content that they're going to enjoy, that they're going to like, that they're going to talk about, and that they're going to share. It's all collaborative. It's who do you know, who can you add content and value to, and in return, the followers will follow you as well.
So let's talk about these guys who are running around New York City, doing it.
Yeah,
making $100,000 for Snapchat stores. Because I am having been in the social media space and written a book on social media.
Yeah,
I am a new Snapchatter. So I don't know if I don't know if I'm late to the game. I have a 14-year-old that absolutely loves the platform and loathes Facebook. But as far as Snapchat is concerned, other than you're essentially taking snaps of your entire day that in turn tell a story. And then you're also communicating with the people that are following you and that you're following. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Though Snapchat works two ways. And I wrote a blog post about this that went viral. But basically with Snapchat, you can do one of two things. You can chat, meaning I can send you
right now, I think.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I'm going to do that too. With Snapchat, it works two ways. Basically, I can send you a snap, and that snap is seen just by you, and it's from me. Or I could post it on my story, and anyone who follows me can watch it. Now, the really successful Snapchatters are those that do both. You want to post on your story, and you want to respond to your snaps. Some people just use it as a broadcasting tool, like you said, and they just post on their story.
So how do you respond? How does one respond to their snaps? Is that through the text messaging option?
Yeah, here's my phone, just so you can take a look at it. There's a couple people. The blue boxes are just text messages, but the red box means that's an image. This guy Giorgio Copter is one of the top Snapchatters in Beirut. He's a genius. Look at this. I'll show you. This is what he does on Snapchat. He creates these monsters. So he said that to me with the little, I can't even read it this way, when you realize it's still Tuesday. So now if I want to respond to him, I can just tap here and I can say, here I am. And I can say, wow, Giorgio, great snap. I was just with you on Sebastian Rusk's show, the Social Media Sucks Show. Congrats. Say hi.
Yo!
And now I'll send that directly to him, so he'll get that message. But if I put that on my story, anyone would have access to it. And that's where I built my talk show. I put it on my story. So when I do my talk,
my thing is I don't know how many people are following me, and I don't know how to find more followers unless I add my entire phone address book, which I'm a little apprehensive to do.
Yeah, the best and worst thing about Snapchat is you never know how many people are actually following you. Now, this is good if you're selling advertising because advertisers don't really know how many people are following you either. They're just kind of going by what they've heard.
Sure.
The bad news is if you're trying to, if you have a huge audience, you can't really prove it to anyone except by the view count and whatnot. But Snapchat makes it really difficult to be discovered. I mean, there's no button like on Twitter where you just follow someone, or on Blab where you just follow. Oh, that's a good one. What you have to do is you have to figure out what someone's Snapchat name is. Then you have to go to the Snapchat, open it up. You have to type it in, which is unheard of. You have to hit the little plus button. If somebody follows you on Snapchat, it's because they really, really, really want to follow you on Snapchat. And that really makes them valuable. That makes them a valuable asset because they're a fan. They're not just a casual observer. So that a view on Snapchat is worth, I would say, 15 or 20 viewers on Twitter or on Facebook.
Wow. So I need to figure out getting a little bit more other than just, somebody said, it's my friend Anna Hendricks said, I wouldn't post a picture without with my glasses on and no makeup first thing in the morning everywhere else, but I would do it on Snapchat. I love the raw, authentic, spur of the moment, real time. It's happening right now. It's going down right now type deal.
Oh yeah. It's awesome.
So I'm going to add this to my story, but I don't think I'm following you on Snapchat. So I wouldn't be able to tag you. Let's see. Maybe I am.
Well, you can't really tag anyway, but what you can do is, for example, is your Snapchat Sebastian Rusk?
It's Seb Rusk, SEBRUSK.
Seb Rusk. All right, so here's what I'll do. So I can go now to add friends and add by username, SEB, right? RUSK.
Right.
Okay. Oh, well, if I didn't have fat fingers, I'd be able to type it properly. Seb, R-U-S-K. All right, so there you are. I've now added you. And so now we're friends, which is cool, right? So
Got it. Okay.
So now if I go to my stories, if I go to where, my recent updates, you should pop up there because you've recently updated and I can view what you just posted. If you friend me, you could view what I just post. And that's kind of what happens. You need to get as many people as you can to add you so they can view your stories.
Right. So I'm about to add it to my story, but I have all these people that I'm following underneath, but I have the option to choose their name. Aren't they notified anyway that I have added to my story? So what's the purpose of them being added there?
They don't get a notification. Yeah, they don't get a direct notification. What happens is, here's a list of all the people who have recently updated. The most recent is on top. So Daniel Gayer, there's a name for you. He's the most recent update. And if I tap on this, I can watch his story. Hopefully he's not saying anything. Let's go, boy. So that's that. Now that I've watched it, there's a couple of, he's got a couple that I can scroll through here. And now he's going to disappear because I've watched all of his recent updates. If I refresh, the next person who's just updated is going to be on my recent update and I can watch theirs. Now I have a few thousand people on here. So if I start scrolling, it's a little buggy at times. But if I start scrolling, you're going to see there's hundreds and hundreds of updates that I could sit here and waste hours of my day watching. And every time I watch it, they're notified that I've watched it. But see, here's all the stories of the people that I follow. But they don't get a specific message or pop-up
unless I
thing.
chose their name specifically, right?
Correct.
Got it. All right. Well, that was a little Snapchat 101 here.
Yeah, a little lesson for you.
Yeah, we got. I even changed the topic to Snapchat, and I think we might chat with it for a little bit longer. We're breaking records here with 7 people live in our room right now. Just in case you were wondering, we'll pause for a quick station identification. My name is Sebastian Rusk, and I am the host of this show called the Social Media Suck Show. And this is my trusty co-host and guest this week, Mark Kaye. Am I pointing the right way? Maybe I should point this way.
I don't know. I can never get that right either.
Mark's a radio host and also a big Snapchatter, big adapter to this live streaming game. In fact, Mark and I met on live streaming, and that's how we ended up here today. So I just wanted to find out radio and social media and how it all ties together. But that is truly profound, the fact that you have figured out a way to I love that quote that says, go if you want to attract the masses, go to where the masses are and then direct them to where you want them to be. And that's exactly what you've done, because you're like, hey, I've got a market that's listening to me right here, but I've also got a big worldwide market here through Snapchat and being able. So let's talk. Let's segue real quick while we're talking about what you're utilizing Snapchat and your radio show for. You said you were the first to have a talk show on Periscope. So you're literally plugging a mic into your phone, hitting start broadcast, and then you're literally clicking the board and starting your radio show.
Yeah, well, with Periscope, with my talk show on Snapchat lives on Snapchat. With Periscope, what I do is when I do my show, the Mark Kaye Show, I have a radio studio, and the thing I found was I would just start periscoping my show. Problem with that is people could hear me, but when I take phone calls, because of the way the radio station works, because you have headphones, they couldn't hear the phone calls. Yeah. So, after a few minutes, I realized people were complaining, we can't hear what's going on. I also play a lot of audio clips. What's the thing Donald Trump said that got everyone ticked off? Or what's Kim Kardashian saying? Lots of audio clips that, again, they couldn't hear. So I went on Amazon and I bought all this equipment and I got iRigs and I got cables and everything else. And I figured out a way to run the entire radio board, the signal with everything mixed together, into my phone. And I simply put it on my Archon mount. And I would then hit start broadcast. But instead of people hearing me live, they would hear the radio. So, and people were freaked out for a minute. They're like, I hear radio commercials. What's going on? Then, of course, when I started talking, they realized they're hearing my show. Then when I go to a phone call or play a segment on that's been pre-recorded or is, an audio clip, they're hearing that as well. So now they're watching me do my show and they're hearing what radio listeners hear, which is what really opened it up, because then I start giving out the phone number. I start telling people, hey, if you want to get in on this, 855-297-9696. And I forgot that Periscope people can call too. And that's exactly what they started doing. In fact, Euro Maestro would be watching me on Periscope. He called in a couple times from Paris. I've had him on my radio show talking about the gentleman in the United States military men who thwarted the train shooting in Paris. He talked about the Bridge of Locks when that came down. And it was like, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when I was on the radio here. But he just called up the number and I put him on the air, and it was all through Periscope. So if you have, I'm in 4 markets right now on Sunday night. I'm in Orlando, Jacksonville, Tulsa, and Dayton. But when I plug in my phone, I'm international. And I get calls from Michigan, from Canada, from Texas, from all over the place. So it's really, it's a really incredible way. It gives you a global reach automatically, anybody.
And how hard was that process to set up, that technical process of figuring out you can plug this into the radio station?
It was pretty easy. I don't have it here. There's a mixer here that you can use. There's something called an iRig, which they're pretty popular. It's a way to plug like an XLR cable or a microphone into your iPhone. This is the bigger version. This is the dual mixer. This is like $99. But basically, there's a smaller version that works just as well. And it creates... The one end has a plug, an 1/8-inch plug that you can plug right into here, right into your port on your phone. Sure. And once you've plugged that in, whatever you plug the other end into will be broadcast. Now, the other end is high tech. It's like this. And you plug this right into the board. All of a sudden, I'm mixing and blending on my radio station, processing unit, and it's going right into the phone. And it's incredible. Bands have started doing that. You can get the live performance, but instead of just, how like whenever you watch somebody at a concert, you can kind of hear the music. It's kind of iffy. But now what they can do is they can plug their mixing board right into their phone. You're getting the video and you're getting the audio quality, the recording digital quality of the audio as if you're listening to a CD. So, it's really phenomenal.
At concerts, I think, because you're going to have GoPros flying all over the place with drones that are actually connected to their immediate board that's being live. It's like, you want to go to you can go to the actual show for $100. Yep. Or for $24.95, you can sit on your couch with a cold beer and watch it in high definition. And Chromecast or Apple TV will allow you to patch it right into your surround sound and your television. So.
Oh yeah, Brian Fanzo. I know you guys are good friends. We got invited to speak in Dallas. He went to go speak in Dallas. They wanted me to come speak in Dallas, but he suggested that instead of doing that, we should just connect via Blab. Now, all this tells me is he got a free trip to Dallas and I didn't. But basically. It was the same exact thing. Now think about these presentations. He's in Dallas. They've got a big screen. I come in via Blab, and now I'm doing a presentation in Dallas, but I don't have to get on a plane. I don't have to miss work. I don't have to be away from my family. The 300-400 people that were there in Dallas are getting the same information. Really, I was sitting in my underwear the whole time, which was great. And it's really...
I'm actually in my underwear right now.
Oh, are you really? Oh, good. Yeah, awesome. I love it. Yeah. It's changing the face of every kind of communication. The live webinars, or the live seminar business, it's thriving. But I think a lot of people are going to see this as not, if not a replacement, but a good addition. And like you said, the savvy entrepreneurs are going to say, you can come to my seminar. It's a 2-day event. It's $1,900 live plus hotel, or for half that, just watch at home.
Sure. Well, I think there's such a large, and of course, Mike Stelzner and his team have been so instrumental in taking an online conference, taking it offline, and then adding the online. Now, he took his online social media summit online, took it offline, and added back the online while still in the offline. And he's been able to the tune of 2,000 plus people, however many people show up for social media marketing world. But being able to, you're catering to every audience. Not everybody can afford the cost of the event and the cost of travel, but some can afford the ability to sit in their living room, be able to watch and consume similar content on here. But I think that's the right. I think you're right. I don't think we're ever going to replace the in-person, real-life conference attendee experience. You and I'd be out of a job. Yeah. Or actually, maybe not. Maybe we'd just be starting a job and be traveling less, right?
Maybe that's it. And Periscope Summit, that's the key. Every time you get somebody with a common passion, Periscope, we all knew each other, but we got there, and it was just so exciting to see these people in person. So there's always going to be that element. But this is just, an additional factor that whatever you do, it just opens it up to the world. Amanda Oleander is a great example of that. She was they're calling her the very first Periscope star. For those of you that don't know, she's an artist in LA. She was nobody knew her until Periscope. Nobody knew her. 3 weeks into Periscope, she was the #1 biggest celebrity, and her art was flying out the door. She transformed her life. She started getting orders from Abu Dhabi and Australia. people she'd never met, but they watched her on Periscope. They saw her paint live, and all of a sudden, I mean, she's becoming a professional artist, which is what she always wanted to do. So it's really exciting stuff.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a social platform that has helped you grow an organic following faster than Periscope.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I mean, Vincenzo Landino talks that, he's had a lot of good success, especially with brand activations, but as well as hopping on with Joel Comm and doing a couple different shows. And, he wins the consistency award, that's for sure, but also has been able to convert it into business by working with large brands. But he said it's been like astronomical. I mean, something over well over 2,000 new followers within a 30-day period just by being consistent.
Yeah, the one thing I lucked out on with Periscope, and I mean, this was funny. I was at a Snapchat conference in Orlando. I was getting ready to talk to 200 people about Snapchat, and that was March 26th. That morning is when Periscope landed. So 7 a.m., I'm supposed to be preparing for a huge Snapchat conference. I download Periscope, and I spend the whole day on Periscope. And I was at a hotel. That's when I did my first underwater Periscope, like 15 minutes after I downloaded it. I was trying to figure it out. I was getting hearts. Like we talked about the underwear, I accidentally found out that you screen capped the first image because I was pointing my phone down when I started. I was in my boxers, thank God. But, learning all about it that first day, then I had to walk in and switch gears and talk about Snapchat all of a sudden. But because I was on it so early, I was on that most loved list for a long, long time. And being an early adapter, that was the only reason I got so many followers, because when you download the app, you have no idea who to follow, but Periscope gives you a list. Oh, here's some people. So people just boom, 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 boom. And I was able to get new followers every single day in my sleep, basically. Now it's a little more
Periscoping right now. I just started the Periscope. So.
Oh, hi. What's up, everybody? Tap for hearts. So
there's no one there.
Oh, I feel bad. Maybe I should go watch us.
Wait. We have one person. It's always fun to see who actually jumps in, who cusses you out, all that fun stuff.
Welcome. But no, I mean, it is a great way to build a following. And I think because they see Grant Cardone is a great example. The only reason I met Grant Cardone is because I popped into one of his Periscopes and he was bashing the media. And I had no idea what he was talking. All I heard was, I literally turned it on. I hear Grant Cardone looking at his phone going, "You can't trust radio people. You can't trust the media." So all of a sudden I'm on there going, whoa, why are we bashing the media? What's happening? So he and I got into it on Periscope, but then I started watching him more. I realized, his whole shtick and what he's doing. And I've actually had him on my show twice. So when we finally met at Periscopes, again, he's in Miami, all these people in Florida that I have to go to New York to finally meet. But and he was a great guy, but he's been able to, his brand. I sat one day watching Grant Cardone try to make a deal for like a $10 million apartment building. And it was the most fascinating thing. Because he's in a room with three guys. They're on a phone talking to three other guys. And no one wanted to make a deal first or throw out a number. And there's 500 people watching them basically not talk. But it was riveting and tense. And, and when they finally got the deal done, or when they finally got to the point where somebody hung up the phone or had to go check with the bank, I don't know. It was just an amazing experience to really live in someone's world that way. And, it taught me a lot about negotiating, and it taught me a lot about what I do. So I think it's really helpful.
Yeah, I was watching him yesterday. He's in Vegas he spoke at a dealer conference.
Yeah,
and it was a bunch of car dealers, and right up his lane. And I didn't know that he was previously in the car business way back when, once upon a time. And he said, "Listen, I've got one of my team members right over there in the front row with my smartphone. We are streaming live on Facebook right now. Hey, Jared, how many people do we have in the room? 1,100. I have 1,100 people in a room that I know for a fact are there and listening to every single word that I'm talking about right now. And I control that conversation. In fact, we're at a car dealer convention right now. So let's just see who needs a car. Let's just ask them, who needs a new car? I'll make your first payment." And I'm not kidding you. There was at least 5 or 6 people that said, "Hey, I'm in the market for a new car, Uncle Grant. You'll make my first payment." That sure is nice. And Grant said, "I could take every single one of those comments right there, and I could distribute them to one of you here that own a dealership to sell them a car with me making the first payment."
Yeah.
So I don't know if I sound like Ross Perot or
it was good.
Grant Cardone.
It was like Ross Cardone. It was good. I liked it.
It was. You want to call your sales trainer by the name? Well, I'm Grant, and you're the boss, right?
Yeah.
There we go.
He's a funny guy to watch. I was watching him on the phone because now what he does is he doesn't sell cars, but he has a program that he sells to dealers, and it's a training program for their salespeople. So I'm on there the other day, and he's on the phone with some sales guy, and the guy's like, I don't know if I can make this commitment. I mean, you're talking about $1,500, Grant. And he stops him. He cuts him off. He goes, no, I'm talking about $40,000. It's $1,500 this month for 2 years. You got to be with me for $40,000. If you're not, I'm hanging up the phone right now. And I'm like, how is this working? But all of a sudden the guy's like, right, of course. I'm sorry. No, I'm with you. And he faxed over the contract. And I was like, oh my God, I just watched somebody make $40,000 live on Periscope.
Right.
And I mean, it's amazing. It's great.
Well, I think that, I wrestle with that. I was just on, Ian Cleary had Kim Garson, and then Fanzo jumped in. So I figured right before the show, jumping in a room with those guys is great PR. So I jumped in real quick, and I would call it, I randomly just barged into their blab. No, I did have some productive things to add to the conversation. But I said, hey, thanks for sharing the Periscope here. Look, squirrel. Kim has really been able to put this live stream game in the chokehold, more specifically the sales aspect of it, because she exemplifies jab, 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 right hook, in that she knows how to make an introduction, educate, motivate, differentiate, provide value, and then just drop a link and let people do whatever they're going to go do. Not buy my product, buy my course, buy this. Here's a link if you'd like more information about live streaming to my course here, and being able to get them in. She said most of the time when I do giveaways, they end up converting to sales. I'm giving something away and it converts to sales. I sold tickets to her iBoom event in Chicago last week. She said all through live streaming and being able to do that. And I said, I wrestle with the fact, being a true grit, born, it's in my blood salesman, right? I just know that I was born to do it. You can't really sell anymore. You've got to provide that value. You've got to engage with your community. So I wrestle with the fact of, can you have the Uncle Grant Cardone mentality of lift up your skirt, grab your balls, and sound off like you got a pair and close the deal? Or is it providing value? I wrestle with that back and forth. What are your thoughts in 2015? Because I don't, hashtag don't pitch me, bro.
Yeah, I'll tell you. First of all, if there's reincarnation, I want to come back as Kim Garst, because she's amazing. Yes. She's unassuming, perfect, does everything right. Her Facebook is.
She uses the word tush.
Oh, tush. It's
Facebook, a pain in the tush.
It's a thing of beauty. If you look at her Facebook posts, if you look at her Twitter, everything is meticulous, and she makes it look effortless. I was watching her Periscope. She has a Periscope product, and I was watching her Perry School, hashtag Perry School, which I wish I'd thought of first. And we're sitting there because I've done Periscope training. I have a Periscope course of my own, so I'm watching her, and I'm like, how is she doing it? And she says this amazing thing. She says, because she has a free giveaway, like you mentioned, and then she has her course. And she says, for a lot of you, I know you're not ready for my course. I know you're not ready. I know you're not there. You're probably not ready for that. And it could sound condescending, but the first thing I'm thinking in my head is, who the hell are you to tell me I'm ready for your course? Watch, click. Don't tell me I'm not ready for your course.
Right.
And again, she says it in this gentle way, like, you may not be ready for my full course. So let me just explain a couple things here for you. But, when you're ready, we'll talk. And that makes people lunge. I mean, yes, I'm ready. I'm not a nobody. I'm smart enough to handle this. So she makes sales that way. Grant Cardone, I think he does the opposite. He shows you, because what he's selling to you is the Grant Cardone sales system. So you watch him sell on Periscope and you're thinking, man, I want to sell my products like that. I want to sell my stuff like that. So you go to his website and buy how to sell like Grant Cardone, or, how to convert, how to close on the phone, all that stuff. It's, I want to be like that person, or I want to do what that person's doing.
Right. Now you're exactly, I didn't even look at it like that. And I said, I asked, Kim's answer was, I said, how do you avoid the don't pitch me, bro? And she says, I just don't pitch anybody. I say, my name's Kim Garst. I wrote a book.
Yeah.
I have an agency. We work with brands. Here's what we do. Here's a link. And the rest just starts to take care of itself because of the fact she's not pitching. And I've seemed to find that, and that I always like to say, I don't need to tell you that I wrote a book called Social Media Sucks If You Don't Know What You're Doing. It's available where books are sold. I don't need to say that, even though it is my show. Just because of the fact that if you like my bow tie and the content I'm providing and you like the guests that I have on my show, you're going to gravitate towards it because I've made an emotional connection with you by being able to provide value to you, build a community around you. And it's not hard to figure out what I do or where to find me or message me, etc. And I think that's a tough adjustment for people to make because when brands see a platform like Facebook, let me just get on there and shove my message down consumers' throat.
Well, the thing, you're absolutely right. You can't do that at all. And the great thing about Blab, I have something that I started recently because of Periscope. Everyone was writing me on Periscope saying, how do I do this? How do I do that? And I had a list. I have a VIP list, free tips. But I said, I'm going to go more in depth. I'm going to start a Facebook group. I'm going to start an email because the big problem people had was, I don't know when new things come out. I don't know when Blab comes out, for example. How do I jump on that? How do I use it in business? Yeah, it's great that it's here. But like you just said, how do I sell with it? How do I promote with it? How do I build an audience? So I developed my own thing. It's called Social Pro Report. And I started to sell it, which worked, which was awful. I would get on there and say, hey, get Social Pro Report. It's monthly. I'll keep you informed, yada, yada. But then what I started doing was I just started going on Blab and answering questions. And I said, hey, look, I've got 30 minutes. You tell me about your social media marketing. You tell me about your problems. You tell me what you don't understand. Like you and I just did with Snapchat. All right, you figured out Snapchat. Now, how do you use it to grow your business? How do you put the Social Media Sucks show on Snapchat? We could sit down and talk about that for 30 minutes. And I did one Blab with a woman. She popped in. I was just like, for 30 minutes, I'll give you, I call it like a social media breakthrough. So for 30 minutes, I did that with her. And I suggested how to use Periscope, how to use Blab. I suggested she start an email list. And I turned it off and I went back to my desk and I had 4 people sign up for Social Pro Report. And I thought, this is great. It was the most success I'd ever had. So now periodically what I'll do is I'll get on Periscope or I'll get on Blab and I'll just start answering questions and people find it out and they find Social Pro Report and, they come in and they say, this is great. I want more of this. I want to sit down with you and I want to talk for 30 minutes on the phone or, we have a Facebook group. I want to get in the Facebook group. I want to be able to have access to that information at any time. And that's exactly what you have to do.
So let's talk about the Social Pro Report.
It's so funny. It started off as a newsletter. Basically, what happened was I realized there's a lot of new information coming out and Blab and Periscope, people still don't know about it. I mean, 10 million users is nothing. Blab has even fewer than that. Every day, people are still, like you just said, getting on Snapchat. So I know all the stuff that's going on in the social media world and I'm answering questions. But the one question I got was, do I need to be on this? And if so, what do I do with it? And I started an email where I would find, real life examples and I would send it out. Then people were like, can we have a Facebook group? So I started the Facebook group. Well, the email was too slow. Facebook really became the big number one way for people to connect. So in the Facebook group, I will put videos up there. I'll put columns up there, articles that I find. I have all these Snapchat stars in Paris. Brian Fanzo's in there. Sean Doris from Snapchat, a good friend of mine. And they're answering questions. So if you, for example, had a question about Blab or Periscope or anything else, you go to the Facebook group, I'm going to answer it. Someone else is going to answer it. I also started offering a 30-minute, like I said, the thing I was doing on Blab, the one-on-one VIP breakthrough. I would sit down and I would offer a 30-minute session with everyone who joined. And that was free. And I made some really amazing friends and learned a lot myself. Adrienne Dyer, who's on Periscope, we met because she signed up and I sat down and talked to her for 30 minutes about Periscope. And she's great. She's connecting with folks that have eating disorders, that are bulimic and anorexic. And she said, Periscope is, I feel, a way that I can build that community. So I gave her some tips and some tricks. The one thing I recommend to anybody, whether you want to, sit down and talk with me for 30 minutes or subscribe or anything, the one thing you need to do is take your viewership offline to some kind of list. Because it's great not just for keeping in touch and selling, but also for promoting future Blabs, future Periscopes. Periscope doesn't have the function that Blab has or that Meerkat has where you can pre-promote. Sebastian, I think you started this one, last week sometime you started promoting this. You can do that on Meerkat. On Periscope, you can't. But if you can capture your Periscope viewers on an Aweber list or, a MailChimp, you can schedule it yourself and you can write them an email and say, hey, my Periscope starting in 15 minutes. Get to a quiet place. You're going to want to watch this. My Blab is about to start. Make sure you go subscribe. And ever since I started doing that, and I know Kim does that as well. I think Fanzo does it. But ever since I've started, doing that, I see much more interaction in my Blab and in my Periscope. And that's important because then you get featured in the top spot and you get tire kickers and you get passersby who jump in. And then all of a sudden,
I mean, because what's a blab without a tire kicker, right?
So it's just another great way to build that audience. So that's my one tip. If you're going to take something away from this, start a list and get people on that list so that you can communicate with them when they're off of blab.
And speaking of that list, so let's just say I'm a novice, but I know a lot about underwater basket weaving, and I really want to start a blab about underwater basket weaving. And I know that I can probably start a blog or just a small website, but I need to be able to capture those emails. I think I got the whole Periscope and blab thing figured out. Now I'm going to launch my blab show. I'm going to provide a link, but how am I able to collect email addresses when I provide that link? How do all those
I'm glad
things
you asked. That's great. If you go to Aweber or MailChimp or One Shopping Cart or any other, it's called an autoresponder. And basically what that is that's a place where you can go and you fill out, you've seen it, get my free report. Just fill out your name and email address. Kim Garst has 1,000 of them. I have one for Periscope, which I started, which has thousands of people on it. And this was just free. This was what happened with Periscope was, the comments go by. And before I started doing my scope mobs and everything else, I was a little Alex Pettit. I would answer questions. I would teach people how to use Periscope. But the questions would go so fast, I couldn't keep up with them. So I started a Periscope list on Aweber. And I told people, look, go here, join my list. And I would immediately send them out a little welcome email. You can set up as many emails as you want.
So you run everything through Aweber then, and then you're just putting the form on your website. Is that right?
No, on Periscope, here's what I do. I go, all right, in fact, this is the two most important things you can have if you do live streaming are note cards and a Sharpie of some kind. Because what I would do is I would take a Sharpie and I would take a note card and I would hold it up and I would say, look, join my VIP Periscope list. It's free. You can email me here, screen cap this. Screen cap it right now. And people would screen cap it. And then after the broadcast, I would get 10, 12, 13 new followers. And this is great because, again, this one, my main Periscope list is totally free. And I would send a PDF with a tap for heart sign that they could hold up. I have it in the back of my studio. People loved it. My Archon mounts that I have, I would send them an Amazon link to the Archon mount. And I would say, great, if you're serious about periscoping, you need this Archon mount. And that is an affiliate link, so I get a little bit of change back from Amazon. And I've made a couple $100 selling Archon mounts and selling battery packs and these lenses that everyone wanted, just through that list. But these are the two most valuable tools when you're live streaming. I've made thousands of dollars with my Social Pro report. When I started that, I just sat down, I was in the middle of something, and someone goes, "What's the address?" And I go, "Oh, it's easy. Let me just show you." And I would type it. I would write down socialproreport.com, and I would hold it on. Sometimes I put on my forehead. I said, "This is the most valuable real estate I have because it's so big." And I would do this, and then I would get off my blab, and all of a sudden I've got a handful of new subscribers, and I'm thinking to myself, "Holy cow, this is great! Who needs a website? You need some note cards and a pen because on Periscope you can't type in a link. On Blab you can, but on Periscope you can't. On Meerkat you can't. Oh, I think you can now at the end. But live streaming is great, and if people do this, if they really take the time to screen cap or make a note of it, then they'll go and they'll take part in whatever it is that you're offering. So
now, of course, you don't have to worry about that on Blab because you can just type a link in. But I think the note card still could be useful. You're like, listen, I'm dropping a link in the comments. But also, if you look at my forehead, you can see that that's a direct link to where you want to go. I want to welcome you into my sandbox and provide you as much value as I can. Just go here. Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. So we're almost out of time here. We got a few more minutes left, but I did want to open the seat up in case we've got some folks that like to jump in here. I know a couple of rock stars have joined us through here. I think I saw Sabe just jump in the room. What's up, Sabe? Robert Stern's in the house. Robert will be on the show next week. And if anybody has any questions for Mark, now's the time to jump in that hot seat right now. And any trolls that may be in the room, I doubt it because there's not a lot of trolls on Blab, but I always welcome them in the hot seat too.
Trolls don't have time for Blab. They don't like to be invited.
Somebody said yes, exactly. All right, let's see here. Jay Schultz.
We're not going to scope mob today, Jay. I'm so sorry. I had to be here, and I did. I try to do scope mobs. I did them daily, but I just couldn't keep up with it. But Jay's a big fan, and I appreciate that, Jay. And tomorrow, I promise you a scope mob at noon. I promise.
Okay, can you enlighten us on what scope mobs are?
Yeah, scope mobs are something I stumbled on with Periscope. Like you just said, you can share a broadcast. Well, one day I was watching a broadcast in LA, Justice Bowens. I don't know if you know him. I'm watching Justice, and he's sitting in his kitchen, and he's giving this very, I guess I was feeling down or whatever, but he was giving a very inspirational, motivational speech, and it touched me, and I was like, yeah, this is good. And I never really shared anything with my followers. I was just too busy trying to get people to share my stuff. So I'm sitting in my car waiting to pick up my kids from school, and I said, invite my followers. Well, I forgot at the time I had 25,000 followers. So all of a sudden, you've got Justice Bowens, who had maybe 15 people in his Periscope. All of a sudden, the number starts going like this, and it's just, it was like a time lapse timer, and he went from 15 to like 83, and he flipped out. I mean, here's a guy who's always energetic and emotional anyway. He all of a sudden becomes a rock star on Periscope. He flips out, and he's screaming and yelling. He's like, "Oh my God!" And of course, all my viewers now are entertained. So I realized I just literally flash mobbed him on Periscope. And so when I realized how much fun it was, I decided to do it over and over again. So we came up with Scope Mob, and we've Scope Mobbed people in Australia, in Canada, first-time scopers. We had one woman get so freaked out she vowed never to scope again. We've made so many friends all over.
How do you identify where the mob's going to be? I know it's easy to do. Like if you were starting a show at 2:00, we could drop the link here and send everybody out of here and jump in your room. How does that happen on Periscope?
Well, what I do typically is I'll start a Periscope and say, hey, it's time for the Scope Mob. Get ready, invite your followers, and we'll get like 100 people on my Periscope. And then I sit and I explain to them, here's what's going to happen. First of all, you've got to follow me. You've got to make sure your notifications are on. And then you have to join the next scope I invite you to. So once we've gone through all of that, I end my scope. I go to the map. I search around the globe, and I try to find some really quirky character, maybe in Great Britain, maybe in South Africa. In the Deep South, there's a lot of fun people at home at noon on like a random Tuesday. And they have 5 or 6 people.
This is my cousin.
Exactly right. They have like 5 or 6 people. I jump in, I invite everybody, and all of a sudden their viewership explodes. And if we're lucky, we get a great reaction. And I put a compilation on YouTube. If you search hashtag Scope Mob on YouTube, you'll see a great compilation. We've had some fun with it.
Talk about paying it forward, huh?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, and that's true. It's it makes people famous. They either love Periscope or hate Periscope after that.
Yeah, this is Jay. You're trying to get in the room, brother, but nothing's happening there. So I don't know about technical difficulties here. Robert Stern, what's happening, brother?
Mr. Mark? How are you, sir?
How you doing, Robert Stern? Good to see you again.
It's good to get that big hug from you the other week.
I know. You're a good hugger. He's a good hugger. If you ever meet him,
squeezable.
Yeah.
Anything longer than 6 seconds is weird.
True.
So I talking about the mob scopes that he does. I mean, I remember the one he did to a guy in Italy, and the guy didn't speak English.
Oh,
he just starts going, oh, no. I thought he was going to have a panic attack. But
yeah,
I'm curious, what happened to the lab?
Oh, the Periscope lab?
I'm from the old days with you.
Yeah, Robert's been around a long. The Periscope. I'll tell you what killed the Periscope lab. It's Blab. So when Periscope Sebastian first started, I tried to reinvent what I did on Talk and Snap, or my Snapchat show, do a talk show in a laboratory, I called it. And I had a huge TV screen, and I had all this equipment that I bought. And what I wanted to do was, I think I did Euromaestro, I think I interviewed Alex Pettit, and I called it the Periscope Lab.
Welcome to my lab.
And then all of a sudden, Blab came out, and I didn't need it anymore, because basically this is exactly what the Periscope Lab was. So I stuck to scope mobbing, and I left Blab to the experts.
I mean, I've seen Mark evolve, because we've known each other since the first week.
Yeah, 6 whole months.
And I was one of his first Periscope interviews.
Yeah, that's right.
On the podcast.
Oh yeah, Robert, you have been with me a long time.
You forget that.
I sure do. I forget things on a daily basis, though, so don't take it personally.
Yeah, it's because the sun goes right to the skin. I understand.
I love how we're all talking like we went to high school together, and it's
all under 6 months ago.
That's my favorite.
But that's what Mark brings to the table. Mark brings to the table, when he was periscoping in the beginning, he was really getting to know the people that were coming in. He was talking to them, and we started getting those regulars, and it was like, oh, hey, Rob, or oh, hey, Alex, or oh, hey, John, or Deborah. And he got to know them, and that's why they kept coming back. Besides being funny looking and funny.
Right.
They kept coming back because he was entertaining. And the thing was, he made relationships with so many of these people. And that's what kept me going back to him. I mean, who else? I wanted to go back to a scope that I figured I had a chance with a single woman more than he did. Then I stood next to Alex Khan, and everything was thrown out the door.
Oh my God, that guy is like, I don't know why that guy's not married to 8 different women. Come on. He's 6'7".
6'5".
He's German. He's beautiful, and he's rich. Like, why is he single? I don't get it.
You know what else I learned about him that week hanging out with him?
What?
He plays guitar.
Oh God, forget
He's
it.
a businessman.
Yeah.
He played basketball, obviously, in high school.
Yeah, he sells scented candles
with rings in them.
My wife would marry him. It's crazy. But no, another thing that happened, I don't know, Sebastian, if you know Mark Shaw. Do you know Mark Shaw from the UK?
Yeah, I had Mark on last week, actually.
Okay,
yeah.
You do. So I also lucked out because people started calling me the American Mark Shaw. I mean, we're both bald. We both talked about Periscope. The only difference was he had an accent. And I think a lot of people would stumble onto my Periscopes thinking I was Mark Shaw. And my goal for a long time there was, if I get any of Mark Shaw's viewers, I just need to keep them interested long enough so that they follow me. But, you know,
I mean, he's a great person. He's a great human being. I love the scopes. I love when he gets out there, and, you know, he's a great person to have on here. I just wanted to let you know.
I think that the one problem with Mark Shaw is he lacks energy.
If you're new to my scope, please press cupcake.
Cupcake in the comments. Type
cupcake in the comments.
But I love Mark. I mean, he's my brother on the other side.
There are so many. It's amazing. There are so many amazing people who we've never met. But I feel like, you know, I'll tell my wife. She's like, "What are you doing?" I go, "Oh, I'm going to be on Sebastian Rusk's show." She's like, "Who the hell is that?" I go, Sebastian Rusk from Miami. She's like, "How do you even know this?"
He was
guy?
probably thinking Rush Limbaugh. No.
Oh yeah.
Hey, what's happened there? What's your name there?
Walter.
That screen name doesn't say
Walter.
Walter. Okay, that's a little bit different from Lord.
Take off so somebody else can jump in.
He always jumps out as soon as I get in.
He does.
No, Walter.
Because we're both from Long Island. How are you?
So what's happening, Walter?
I guess I wanted to talk to you because I don't know anything about sales and social media. I'm trying, but it just doesn't sink in.
So what's not sinking in? What does sink in for you? Sales or social media?
Neither one's really sunk in. I'm an artist, and I do things my way that I've been doing since 1976 in my own business.
What kind of artist are you?
Well, first I'm a photographer. I do assignments, but also I have 310,000 images on my art site, which you can see. It's on the link is on the picture thing up top, right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So I got on with Alex Mendosian the other day, which is one of these blabs he was on, and I was very fortunate to be able to speak to him direct. And he's talking about social influencers. You know about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I said, but this has nothing to do with my art. All I do is focus on creating my art. I have 200,000 more images to upload. I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's all I do all day. He says, but you're already a social influencer because you're an artist.
Right.
It's
Walter, do you upload where do you upload your images? Just to a site for sale? Is that right?
Yeah. I actually have a Facebook fan page with 13,200 people there too. I upload it there. I have Pinterest. I got some Instagram once in a while. I do that, you know, if I can between eating sandwiches or something like that. You know?
I mean, I do. And do you let these people know what you do? Because I can't imagine if you have 15,000 people on Facebook, none of them are buying your images.
I get between 10,000 and 40,000 views to my art site every day.
Okay.
So someone's looking.
Great.
Comments are that I have too much, but maybe art is a little different because they got to look at it a couple of times before they really find which one they want. And there's a lot of different choices.
You know, just not having seen your site or what you're offering, I would just say I know a lot of photographers who get a lot of business. I know it seems to me like you're less of a photographer for hire and more of an artist.
That business comes in. That comes in. I've been doing that long enough that just comes. That's from referrals and giving out so many cards, over 5 million cards in the street in Manhattan. You know, a lot of people know me. But it's the art, which is I just may have to be a little bit more patient because when I started with photography, it took a while before things built up. It didn't just all of a sudden drop from the sky. Sure. And I think that may be an issue for a lot of people because if you come on and you try different things that people encourage you to do and it doesn't happen right away.
Right.
You know,
no, and
you can get discouraged incorrectly.
It is true. Building a following on social media does take time. Now, a lot of people have found quick success on it, but that's because they've been successful on other platforms. But absolutely, if you're just getting started, or if you're, your Facebook is a great place to go. And I always tell people, you want to build from your base. So if 13,000 people on a Facebook page is awesome. It's incredible. If you ran an ad for $20 just for your Facebook followers, that's warm traffic, people that know you, you would reach a phenomenal audience, and you could push them to your Instagram or your website or a particular image. I mean, that's the beauty of it. If you have a particular image, maybe not send them to your website where there's, like you said, people are saying so many, but maybe create a smaller page with 4, or even just one image that you think a lot of people would want to buy. Maybe your most popular image, the one you've sold the most of, make that into a Facebook ad.
That was Alex's direction. That's true.
Good.
But the thing is that he's talking about a story. Now, I create these images like you drink water. They just come out. I can create 1,000 of them in a 2-day period or something like that. Yeah. But I don't know about the story. What kind of story do you want to hear about anything? I mean, I posted that this was my first photograph back in 1958 of my uncle making shish kebab. And he just made it on a machine that he invented with the rotator.
Now I want shish kebab. So thanks for that.
All right, you're welcome.
No, look, I think when people talk about the story, I think what they want is the story of you. And especially photographers, they're going to want to not have you tell them a story, but show them your story. So if you're going out on a shoot, fire up your Periscope. Fire up your Snapchat. Fire up your Instagram.
Those things I don't do. Instagram, yeah, but the Periscope, I never did it. This is the closest thing. This was like a quantum leap for me.
Really? All right.
Yeah, from Facebook, a little bit of Twitter, because it's connected. It's incorrectly connected to my Pinterest, where I push something there, it goes to Twitter and LinkedIn. I got, but this I can't do anything else. I mean. You go back to Periscope, doesn't even sound right to me, because I think of a submarine. My uncle worked at the Brooklyn Navy Yard as a steam fitter, and when I was a kid, we went on the aircraft carriers that they built, and I freaked out because I couldn't imagine staying on. It was large, but staying on something for such a long time.
Walter,
or a submarine, just forget about it. Periscope is a submarine thing.
Right. Well, it's actually, I mean, I see your point there. It's actually just a catchy name.
I know you think it's catchy, but it hasn't.
But what you're doing right now,
the Russians are coming.
Exactly. You saw that movie? Did you see the movie where the
Mark, they're coming. I've seen them.
What you're doing right now, Walter, is basically Periscope, only with 2 other people in the room. The beauty of Periscope is there's no one to interrupt you.
But I like the interruptions. I want to have the interaction. I prefer not to have just me, because I could do a blab. I get it on it, and no one shows up, and I can't talk. I got to have people interact.
Yeah. Well, the only problem is now that you're blabbing, you can't take pictures. With Periscope, you could set up a camera and you could go to your photo shoot, and people could just watch you. I think if you try it, I think you'd be pleasantly surprised. That's just my suggestion.
All right, that's an idea. But there's another thing. No, there's
Walter. Don't try to Periscope and take your pictures at the same time. Bring somebody along with you.
Imagine me trying to hand out my cards and taking pictures at the same time. But now here's the other thing. The truth is that there's I remember that. Yeah, this guy's he's having a good time.
Well, it's my show. You're supposed to.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm having a wonderful time.
This is the best show I've been on. I'm glad that Stern jumped off because he gave us some space. He's too overwhelming sometimes. But the thing is,
you get that, Robert?
He knows everything. And he doesn't remember my name until we say it. Now he knows me. But anyway, there's a lot of tools, Robert, for example, on Facebook.
Yeah. I heard that, Walter.
Come on back, man. Let's do some New York.
Throwdown hour.
So do you know?
Hey, listen,
do you know on
we gotta wrap things up here, Walter. So if you can finish your thoughts.
Yes, this is the one thing.
Okay,
Photoshop, there's a million tools, and no one knows all of the tools that's on the Photoshop. So you don't need to use everything. If you become accomplished with one thing or a couple of things, and you're successful with that, that's better at least to start with than to try and do everything. That's one of the reasons why you're saying go to Periscope. Let me just get some of this here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's a million tools on Periscope too.
Yeah, there really is. Hey, Walter, listen, we'll leave you with this. We got a jam, but Walter, the very fact that you're on a Blab right now and you're curious about how to do it is the first step in the right direction. People ask me all the time, how do I start with live streaming? Just get in the race. Don't worry about if you're walking or running. Just stay focused on being in the race, and you can adjust accordingly, all right? Keep snapping those pictures, and remember, this social media is not slowing down.
It's just a slow walk. Have a nice day.
That's it. Don't tell me what to do. Thanks, Walter. So, my goodness, Walter, rule number one on Blabs, you got to be constructive. You got to get on there and you got to go, here's exactly where I'm at and I want to get it accomplished. Otherwise, I don't throw people out. Not yet.
I'm going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go get a kebab now.
I'm going to go get a kebab too. And I think the very fact that he took his first picture in 1958 and he's asking us whether or not, how he would tell a story. I think what he was confusing a little bit is that, should I tell a story of all these thousands of images that I capture on a daily basis? Right. And I don't think anybody gives a shit about the story of an image until they know about the story of the individual. And once they know the story of the individual, then you've created some sort of emotion where they say, you know what, I like this individual. People will watch my content and tune into this show just because they like the fact that I wear bow ties. I don't know. Maybe people make specific. Maybe they'll tune back in because I had guests like you that wear sunglasses and note cards on their head. But I like to do that stuff too.
I'll tell you, the fact that Walter made it into this Blab and that we could hear and see him puts him in the top 99 percentile of social media stars. I mean, there's so few people in the country that can't even do what he just did. Everyone who's here, everyone who's in this room right now, you guys are way ahead of the curve. Have faith and confidence that you are doing something that no one else is doing.
Right. I mean,
that was great. That was my favorite part.
That's it. That was like, I'm waiting. Like, I want a full-blown argument. Like, I want some drama up in my, I'm not talking like Spencer Pratt drama, but I'm talking.
Right.
But I want some, maybe we need to, I don't know, we need to mix up the crowd in here a little bit. We need to get like, complete polar opposites in there to have a discussion. It'd be, what Blab is allowing to come to life, Mark, is boy, I'd like to see those two locked in a room together.
Social media does not suck, Sebastian.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't. All right.
I'm sure Walter will be back on next week, Robert. Absolutely. All right. Well, it's about 5 after 2 here. I don't want to take up all of Mark's time.
I gotta go run and get my kids. Actually,
yeah. If you don't leave them, if you don't pick them up at school, I learned that that doesn't mean someone else will just go ahead and pick them up.
No.
I thought, well, I'll just leave them there. Someone's bound to take them home. I mean, they take them home, but then they call the police. It's awful.
Yeah, you don't want to make that mistake twice.
No, not at all. Hey, what's the link? Or actually, I just typed that in. I'm gonna do it one more time.
It's Social Pro Report, and here's the deal: if you subscribe, awesome. The first thing we do is we book a 30-minute phone call so that you and I will sit down and we'll talk all of it. Here's how the phone call goes: Hey, it's Mark Kaye. What's up? Oh my God! Hey, I can't believe I'm talking to you. Yeah, tell me about your business. Tell me about your social media. Let's strategize. Okay, you talk for about 20 minutes. We brainstorm, and then I go, great, this is awesome. I feel like we're best friends forever. And you go, me too. And then we follow up every day in the Facebook group, the private Facebook group. So if you want to take advantage, I'd love to have you. I love making friends in my socialproreport.com group.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for being on, Mark.
Absolutely,
appreciate your
Sebastian.
time, brother. Come back soon, will you? See you, man. All right, friends. Well, this is where the show becomes awkward because it's just me in the room now. But I want to take the time to thank each and every one of you for being here. Without you guys, this show doesn't happen. Well, it does, but it's a little awkward with just me and myself on here. Thank my guest today, Mark Kaye. Thanks, Walter, for jumping in, Robert Stern for jumping in, everybody who's tweeted and posted and shared and done all of this. This is our third episode of the Social Media Sucks Show on Blab. You can also, maybe you're listening to the podcast. A few weeks from now, you're watching the replay on YouTube or on our blog. I appreciate each and every one of you. This show happens live every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm signing off from our studio here in downtown Miami. Remember, friends, social media sucks if you don't